Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in here to my next installment of the Bengals postgame reaction. This one is the Bengals-Browns postgame reaction, where the Bengals came away with a 30-16 victory over the Cleveland Browns yesterday at Paul Brown Stadium in front of, let's see what the actual attendance was, what they said. They didn't actually announce it in the stadium. Actually, it's not even listed on the game summary either, which is pretty interesting. But overall, big victory by the Bengals. Is a game they had to win over a winless Cleveland Browns team who were 0-10 coming in. The Bengals were 4-6. The victory now moves them to 5-6 on the season. Like I said, a big win for them. Something they had to get done. Cleveland, honestly, defensively, they're a tough team. Defensively, and they played pretty well overall. Defensively, the rush defense was number one in the NFL overall. They had only given up, I believe it was 3 yards a rush. The Bengals overall were able to come away with just under 100, and it looks like around 150 yards rushing total for the game. Joe Mixon, 23 rushes for 114 yards. He was obviously the main cog in the Bengals offense, but Andy Dalton overall, 18 of 28, 214 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Like I said, Joe Mixon, he was the go-to guy. He did have a long run of 19 yards. He did have a touchdown run, which really put the game away. Like I said, 23 rushes, 114 yards, which is impressive there. Andy Dalton also contributed 4 rushes for 26 yards. His career long, he had the longest of 25 yards right there. So that was a big run right there that kept the drive alive for the Bengals as well. Giovanni Bernard, 3 rushes for 10 yards. He had a long rush of 11 yards. So, again, those 3 guys right there contributing on the ground. Joe Mixon was fantastic all game, and I continue to say as the season moves on, he's continuously just a huge part of this offense, and once again showed why. And again, his first 100-yard rushing game in the NFL, and good on him. He was, like I said, he was a big piece of that game. Overall, this was a game that the Bengals defense, they struggled. I'm not going to lie to you. They didn't really look too good facing a Browns offense that, very well, if they made a couple plays here and there, could have pulled off the upset on the Bengals. DeShone Kizer, 18 of 31 for 268 yards. No touchdowns, no picks. He did get hurt. Cody Kessler came in on a drive. He was 0 for 1. He was awful. He was under attack a lot. Corey Coleman, he contributed a lot. Three receptions for 62 yards. Kenny Britt, 52 yards on 2 receptions. David Njoku, he had 4 receptions for 47. Those guys, DeValve, Duke Johnson, Rashard Higgins, and Isaiah Crowell all had receptions, and they were all double digits. So that right there, things that the Bengals defense cannot give up, and they continue to struggle a little bit. I mean, granted, they are a very tough defense. Struggled a little bit yesterday. Isaiah Crowell, who seems to always, run well against the Bengals, 16 rushes for 95 yards, the longest of 27. DeShone Kizer did have a couple scrambles. He did score a touchdown. His longest run was 12 yards. But he had 9 rushes for 39 yards. Duke Johnson, 13-yard was his longest rush, but he had 6 rushes for 35 yards. Again, things that, the Bengals you can't do. They continuously let the Browns drive down the field. It was the bend but don't break method again for this defense. If they have any hopes of knocking off the Steelers next week, which let's say, I don't know. They've got to get it going. You got to play a flawless game, and because Pittsburgh's going to be obviously Monday Night Football. Pittsburgh owns the Bengals here in Cincinnati. They have to play a clean game, and if the defense plays like they did today, Le'Veon Bell, let's put it this way, Le'Veon Bell's going to gash this defense. And, based off of, what you saw here, Corey Coleman, Kenny Britt, Njoku, DeValve, Higgins, Duke Johnson, and Isaiah Crowell, guys like that, this Pittsburgh offense is going to tear apart this Bengals defense, especially in the secondary. That is one thing you cannot have, when it comes down to it. again, the Bengals were able to get some big plays. They were, like I said, able to bend but not break. They gave up field goals. It was field goals in the first three quarters, and then they did give up that touchdown late. But they did escape, with the 30-16 victory, a game that should not have been that close. But again, the Bengals defense allowed it to happen that way, and in a way that, like I said, it should not be the case. Some of the big plays here, and going through the game summary, if you look, let's see, the Browns once again, 21 first downs, 12 of those by rushing, 8 of those by the pass, and then obviously 1 by a penalty. 6 of 15, so 40% on third down. The Bengals defense once again not able to get off the field at a pretty good pace. It's just you can't have that. The Browns were able to net 405 total net yards on 67 offensive plays. The time of possession, let me see, I thought I saw that. Time of possession, the Bengals actually had the advantage by just over 30 seconds. So it was a pretty evenly matched game, with the offenses there going at it. Browns penalty-wise, 7 penalties for 69 yards. The Bengals, 4 penalties for 35 yards. Obviously, the biggest penalty was the penalty on Jabril Peppers on the hit on Josh Malone. That was actually a crucial penalty. One, I disagree with. I don't think it wasn't a malicious hit by any means. I don't think it was a hit to a defenseless receiver per se. But I think the penalty, if you look at it, it should have been for probably a pass interference or defensive holding on Taylor as they were going. They were battling back and forth. A couple arm checks there by Taylor on Josh Malone. He comes down with a great catch, couple steps, and then gets popped by Peppers. Again, I disagree with the call. I didn't think it was, I didn't think it was worth it. Again, it's the NFL. It's one of those situations to where you get those kind of hits. Their flag's going to immediately be tossed. So, if you look at it, it very well could have been a reception because he did have, I thought he took 2 or 3 steps to where, he established possession and it just got popped by Jabril Peppers, who I thought he made a great play, great hit coming over from the safety position. So that right there. But again, it seems to be the way the NFL works now. So with that being the case, obviously that was a huge third down. It was 3rd and 5 play right there. The penalty right there gives the Bengals the first down really, right down, believe it, around the 11-yard line. I believe it was the next play. Joe Mixon punches it in from 11 yards out on a couple great plays, a couple great blocks, I should say, by the offensive line. That is one thing I do want to say. The offensive line has seemed to kind of get it together the last couple weeks. If you look at last week against the Broncos, offense, it's not going to really look like they played real well. Richard Skinner actually said it, but I saw what he said last night. It may not look like they did well, but you could see a couple of the big chunk plays that the Bengals offense did have in the rushing game with Joe Mixon and Giovanni Bernard that you kind of see things maybe not starting to click, but this looked like the offensive line that the Bengals were hoping for. They just made a couple key blocks. Again, Joe Mixon, having Ryan Hewitt as the fullback is huge. Having a fullback period, I think, is crucial for this offense because Ryan Hewitt's he can do so much. He's so versatile. Does a great job at the fullback position. Obviously, breaking or allowing Joe Mixon to break some pretty solid runs. And I believe the more Joe Mixon can get used to having Ryan Hewitt as his fullback, you're going to see, I think, a lot more games like this to where you can see a lot more triple-digit games from Joe Mixon, who was certainly capable of that. Another big play I thought from Joe Mixon was the reception, the 36-yard reception where he was able to on the screenplay, which, again, if you watched, the Bengals-Browns last time in Cleveland earlier this year, Gio gashed them for 61 yards on the screenplay. Bengals offense did the same here on a blitz where you could see the linebackers coming in. Joe Mixon breaks off, spins around, catches it, and takes it for 36 yards, almost to the end zone. Was tackled just shy of it, I believe, around the 5 or 6 yard line. So, they were able to punch it in with a Tyler Kroft touchdown on that play. from just a couple yards out. So, it's big plays like that this Bengals offense is getting. That again, if you see a lot more of these kind of plays with the offensive line playing like they are. And that's crucial for this offense. They have to continue to get play like this. Otherwise, you're going to revert back to what you see. When you watch the Ravens game where the offense didn't look good. There's a couple games on there. Even the Texans game, offensive line didn't look good. They looked pretty shaky, and they were getting they got kind of pounded there. Those are a couple games that could come back and haunt the Bengals in this playoff hunt. Yes, they're a game back right now. Baltimore obviously is playing right now, but then you've got a matchup next week on Monday Night Football against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are one of the best teams in the AFC as things stand right now. Games like against the Titans, the Packers, the Texans, those games that you lost could easily come back and haunt you in the playoff hunt. We do have a couple big tiebreakers against the Buffalo Bills, so that's a key. But even then, it's games like that. Like I said, you cannot let get away from you like they did, and that's one thing you have to be kind of happy about right now, that this team is not they're starting to put the games away. They did against the Broncos last week, which was crucial. They did again this week against the Cleveland Browns. Now you have to continue to get rolling, because here you've got a game now against the Pittsburgh Steelers at home on Monday Night Football. You get that victory there. Boom, you're 6-6. You're 500 right now, and right in the smack dab of the wild card. Like I said, you're only a game back. Then you host the Chicago Bears the week after that at home. Chicago, they're 3-8, 3-9, I believe. Easily, that's an easily winnable game. Then you got Detroit. I believe it's the week before. I think it's the week before Christmas Eve, and then I believe you have Minnesota on Christmas Eve. I could be wrong on that one, so don't hold me to it. But there's some very winnable games, and like I said a couple weeks ago, one of these videos, you are in a spot where you can really put yourself right back in the playoff hunt by winning these games. And it starts now this week. You've won 2 straight games against very beatable opponents, and the Broncos and the Browns. Now you've got the Pittsburgh Steelers, your rival, who you do not play well at home against. You've got them at home on national TV. Now we know what Marvin Lewis does in primetime. Doesn't seem to get these guys really rolling. Here's your chance now to get this team going and get things rolling here. Continue to get the ball in the hands of Joe Mixon and A.J. Green. A.J. Green, if you have not seen the play, makes one of the best catches you're going to see, especially in his career. A.J. Green obviously is one of the best receivers at getting his feet down, in the tightest of spaces. Chad Johnson was incredible at doing that same thing. A.J. Green seems to take his level just a couple notches up. The catch he makes, he goes up, gets at the highest point, comes down, gets both feet in. Absolutely incredible. Gets the one foot down and then drags the other one. Hugh Jackson, he challenges it. You kind of don't blame him, but then again, it's A.J. Green, so you kind of know what you're getting there on that. So, that right there just shows, get the ball in the hands of your playmakers. Again, A.J. Green, 5 receptions. He was targeted 8 times. 5 receptions for 66 yards. His longest was 18. Didn't see the end zone. Joe Mixon, again, he was targeted 3 times, had those 3 receptions for the 51. His longest was that screenplay for the 36 yards. Brandon LaFell, again, another big day for him. He didn't have the yardage, but his receptions were pretty crucial. 33 receptions, 33 receiving yards on 3 receptions. He was targeted 6 times. His longest was 15. So then Tyler Boyd comes away with a couple big catches there. Alex Erickson, 18-yard reception. He was targeted once. Gio was targeted once, 15 yards. And then Josh Malone was targeted once and did haul that ball in, but then got obviously popped on that one play, which I thought was a catch in my eyes. I thought he had it, made a couple steps, and then was dislodged on the hit by Peppers. But overall, again, another huge day. Kevin Huber, 2 punts for 71 yards. Again, inside the 20. He was fantastic. Again, Kevin Huber, you know what you're going to get. Adam Jones punt return, takes one to the house. It was called back due to, I believe, a block in the back, which I didn't see. I was at the game, so I didn't really see it. They didn't show it on the replay, so we didn't see it. We just, all we know is everyone was going nuts on the fact that the call was made. But then again, I didn't see it personally. So, but it just shows what you can get from him. And again, Alex Erickson, again, great job in the return game. He did have one kickoff return for 25 yards. So again, things like that continue to continue to roll for this Bengals team. Overall, 152 yards rushing by the Bengals, 169 by the Browns. Again, you got to tighten that number up. 169 yards by the Browns. It's going to look much worse if the Pittsburgh Steelers can have that same success with Le'Veon Bell. It is what it is. So you have to be able to stop those guys. 236 yards by Deshaun Kaiser in the air. It's a pretty respectable game. I think that that the Bengals defense, if they can continue to get pressure on the quarterback like they did today, that right there could be crucial. Let's see. I thought I saw. I'm looking here. I thought I saw sacks. The sack stat, because I know they were getting. Yeah, Deshaun Kaiser was sacked 3 times for 23 yards. Cody Kessler was sacked once for 9 yards. Again, like I said on that one drive where he just was under pressure all that whole time. But yeah, I mean you got 4 sacks for a total of 32 yards. That's huge right there. And this, this team is, they continue to get pressure on the quarterback, and look for that again against the Steelers. The Bengals always seem to get pressure on Ben Roethlisberger. It's just on Ben. He's the one who makes the plays. He's Big Ben, so that's what you're going to get from him. But you continue to put that pressure on him and continue to lock down the receivers. It's going to be tough. Antonio Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, guys like that, they're going to make it difficult on the Bengals defense. You just have to stay disciplined. And this, if they play disciplined football, this game could go well for the Bengals, who are again fighting for the playoff lives. Pittsburgh right now rolling through the division. I believe they're 4 games up on the Bengals right now in the division. So that right there, tells you pretty much all you need to know. That's how good this team is right now. So again, it's going to be a crucial game for obviously for both teams. Again, the victory here by the Bengals will put them at 6-6, get them right back into the playoff hunt. But continue to roll off momentum here from 2 straight victories. Like I said, over the Broncos and the Browns, 2 very beatable opponents there. Which most people, I wouldn't have thought that going into it. I picked the Browns to be a lot better than what they are. But it is what it is. So again, huge huge game for the Bengals. They needed it defensively. Didn't look as strong, but the offense picked them up. When it seems like in games past it's been flip flopped, where the offense hasn't really done held up their end of the bargain, and the defense has really carried it. This time it's flip flop. The defense doesn't really hold up their end of the bargain, but the offense really does a great job in getting things done. Again, Andy Dalton, he's going to make those kind of throws that are going to aggravate you, but he's really not going to lose you a football game. I'm going to tell people that till the day I die. I still think Andy Dalton's a great quarterback. He's going to manage a game very, very well. I'm not going to call him a game manager by any means, but I don't think he's the kind of quarterback that's going to lose you a football game. He had a quarterback rating of 111 today, 111.3 yesterday, I should say. And again, he was 18 of 28, 214 yards. He was sacked once, threw 2 touchdowns, no picks. Granted, he could have had a couple interceptions, but the plays weren't made. So therefore you go, longest pass was 36 yards, which was that screen play. So it wasn't really down the field per se, but still, getting the ball in the hands of the playmakers and let them do their job, good things are going to happen. So looking at it now, big win by the Cincinnati Bengals over the winless Cleveland Browns. Finally we got that out. Got them out of the way. You don't have to worry about becoming their first victory. You continue to plow ahead, and now you focus. Now you've got an extra day to focus on the Pittsburgh Steelers and move forward. Hopefully, getting a nice big victory in prime time and getting yourself back at 500 and looking ahead to the playoff hunt. Again, you're only a game back right now. With Baltimore playing tonight. Again, you're down a couple tiebreakers to a couple teams in front of you, but still, it's all good. Again, you got to play a disciplined football game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, or it's going to be heartbreak again. Something that we're all accustomed to as Bengals fans. especially against the Steelers. So, again, another great game by the Bengals here today. It is what it is. They got it done, and now, again, focus now. It's Steelers week, and I don't care what Marvin Lewis says. You prepare like it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. Saw what happened last time? It's just another game. No, it's not. It's Steelers week. Let's get it done, boys. Come back 500 when I do this video next week. So, as always, thank you guys so much for your support. Follow me on Twitter at I am Chris Asbrock. And as always, check out the website, feeltheimpactsports.com, and check out my videos on YouTube here where this one will go. Thank you guys so much for your support, and have yourselves a fantastic night.